The first assassin appeared at 2:13 in the morning. Princess Lyra Veyne never heard him enter. She was standing alone on the observation balcony of the Imperial Palace, staring at the blue rings of her homeworld when a thin red targeting beam appeared across her chest. Then a hand grabbed her waist. She barely had time to gasp before she was pulled backward. A suppressed energy round sliced through the air exactly where her heart had been. The crystal railing behind her exploded. Lyra stumbled against a solid chest covered in black armor. Down. The voice was calm, almost frighteningly calm. She looked up. Her new human guard stood between her and the shattered balcony, one arm holding her behind him while his other hand reached for the weapon attached to his thigh. Captain Adrian Vale had been assigned to her only 6 hours earlier. He wasn't supposed to be remarkable. No royal insignia. No ceremonial armor. No famous family name. Just a human soldier from Earth with dark hair, tired eyes, and a scar running from his left eyebrow to his cheek. The Imperial Council had laughed when they learned he was her personal guard. The galaxy's most advanced civilization had thousands of genetically enhanced soldiers. And they had given their princess a human. Lyra had laughed too. Adrian hadn't. He had simply looked at her and said one sentence. If someone comes for you, stay behind me. She hadn't taken him seriously. She did now. 3 red lights appeared across the distant rooftops. Adrian pushed Lyra lower. Close your eyes. What? Trust me. The next 3 shots came together. Adrian moved before Lyra could even understand what was happening. His armored shoulder struck her sideways. The first blast hit his chest plate. The second tore through the balcony wall. The third exploded against a metallic shield that suddenly unfolded from Adrian's wrist. The balcony filled with smoke. Lyra stared at him. You were shot. Adrian looked down at the smoking mark on his armor. Barely. That weapon penetrates military armor. I know. How? He looked toward the rooftops. Because they just told me. A second later, every light in the palace went dark. The entire Imperial complex fell into darkness. Lyra's heart began pounding. Adrian grabbed her hand. Move. They ran. Behind them, the balcony doors exploded inward. Black-armored assassins poured into the room. Lyra heard weapons charging. She expected Adrian to run toward the emergency elevators. Instead, he ran directly toward the assassins. Adrian. He stopped for half a second, looked back, and smiled. Stay close. Then the human disappeared into the darkness. The first assassin fired. Adrian dropped beneath the blast. He slid across the marble floor, fired twice, and struck the attacker's weapon. The rifle exploded from his hands. Adrian drove his shoulder into the man's chest and sent him crashing through a table. 2 more attacked from opposite sides. Adrian didn't fight them like an Imperial soldier. He fought like someone who had survived wars nobody in the palace had ever heard about. He used the walls, the floor, the furniture, the assassin's own momentum. Within seconds, all 3 were down. Lyra stood frozen. Adrian looked at her. Still with me? She nodded. Good. They ran again. The palace alarms finally activated. Red emergency lights flashed across the corridors. But something was wrong. The security doors weren't opening. Lyra pressed her royal access panel. Nothing. Someone has overridden the palace network. Adrian looked at her. Who has access? The Imperial Guard. Anyone else? The High Council. He stared at her for a moment. Then his expression changed. Then this isn't an assassination. Lyra's face went pale. What is it? A takeover. Before she could answer, the corridor ahead filled with soldiers. Dozens of them. Imperial Guard. Their weapons were raised. Their armor carried the royal crest. Lyra almost smiled with relief. Finally. Adrian stepped in front of her. Don't. They are my guards. They're pointing weapons at you. Lyra looked again. Every rifle was aimed directly at her. The soldier in front lowered his helmet. Princess Lyra Veyne, he announced, By order of the Imperial Council, you are under arrest. Her blood went cold. For what? Treason. Lyra stared at him. That is impossible. The soldier raised his weapon. Your execution has already been authorized. Adrian's hand tightened around his weapon. Lyra whispered, How many? Too many. Can we fight our way through? Adrian looked down the corridor. No. Her heart sank. Then he continued. But we don't need to. He pulled a small metallic device from his belt. Lyra frowned. What is that? A door. He threw it against the floor. The device detonated without an explosion. Instead, the entire corridor's artificial gravity failed. Every soldier suddenly lifted off the ground. Weapons floated from their hands. Bodies slammed against the ceiling. Lyra grabbed Adrian's armor as she began drifting upward. Your technology is primitive, she whispered. Adrian smiled. Primitive doesn't mean useless. He kicked off the wall. He reached Lyra, caught her around the waist, and pulled her through a maintenance hatch. They dropped into a narrow service tunnel beneath the palace. Adrian sealed the hatch. For several seconds, neither spoke. Lyra was breathing hard. Adrian was bleeding from his shoulder. You're hurt. It's nothing. You keep saying that. Because it's usually true. She looked at him. Why are you protecting me? He seemed surprised by the question. That's my job. No. Lyra stepped closer. Your job is to keep me alive. You could have escaped. Adrian looked away. I've seen what happens when good people decide someone else isn't worth dying for. His voice had changed. For the first time, Lyra heard something beneath the soldier's calm exterior. Pain. You lost someone, she said. Adrian didn't answer. Then the tunnel lights turned red. A voice echoed through the speakers. Princess Lyra, surrender the human guard and you will be granted a painless execution. Adrian looked up. That's generous. Lyra almost laughed despite herself. You're joking. Sometimes. Now. Especially now. He opened a maintenance panel. What are you doing? Finding a way out. There are thousands of soldiers between us and the surface. I know. And the entire palace network is compromised. I know. The council wants me dead. I know. She stared at him. You don't look worried. Adrian closed the panel. I promised nobody gets close to you. Lyra's expression softened. You really meant that? I don't make promises I can't keep. A massive explosion shook the tunnel. The ceiling cracked. Adrian grabbed Lyra and covered her as debris crashed around them. When the dust settled, a section of the tunnel had collapsed. They were trapped. Lyra looked at the blocked passage. Now what? Adrian looked at his damaged armor. Then at the princess. Now we find out how badly they want you dead. He removed a small communication device from his armor. Lyra heard him transmit one message. Blackbird Actual. This is Vale. Static. Then a voice answered. Vale? We thought you were dead. Not tonight. What happened? Adrian looked at Lyra. Package is compromised. A pause. How compromised? Entire planet. Silence. Then the voice said, Understood. Lyra's eyes widened. Who was that? Adrian put the device away. My backup. You have backup. Everyone should. Where are they? He looked toward the ceiling. Orbit. Lyra's heart skipped. Human ships. Adrian nodded. How many? He smiled. Enough. For the first time that night, Lyra felt something she hadn't felt since the attack began. Hope. But it lasted only 3 seconds. The tunnel wall behind them opened. A massive armored figure stepped through. Unlike the other assassins, this one wasn't wearing a helmet. He was an Imperial executioner, nearly 7 feet tall, covered in heavy silver armor. His weapon was a plasma blade capable of cutting through a tank. He looked at Lyra, then at Adrian. The council promised me the princess. Adrian stepped forward. And I'm guessing they promised you a reward. A position among the High Guard. Adrian raised his pistol. You should ask for a refund. The executioner charged. The first strike shook the tunnel. Adrian barely blocked it. The second strike sent him crashing into the wall. Lyra screamed. Adrian! The executioner raised his blade. Adrian rolled away. The blade cut through the wall. Adrian fired repeatedly. The shots barely scratched the armor. The executioner laughed. You are human. Adrian wiped blood from his mouth. Yeah. You cannot defeat me. Adrian glanced at Lyra. Probably not. The executioner charged again. Adrian ran. Not away. Toward him. At the last second, Adrian dropped beneath the blade and drove a small explosive charge onto the executioner's armor. He rolled aside. Run. Lyra didn't move. Now. She ran. The explosion rocked the tunnel. The executioner fell. Adrian staggered after her. They reached the end of the tunnel. There was nowhere to go. A massive armored door blocked the way. Lyra touched the control panel. It's sealed. Adrian stepped beside her. Open it. I can't. Try again. I said I can't. Adrian looked at the door. Then he took 3 steps backward. Lyra stared. What are you doing? He ran forward. His armored shoulder slammed into the door. Nothing happened. He tried again. Metal screamed. The third impact cracked the locking mechanism. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. You're insane. Probably. He hit it again. The door opened. They fell through. And Lyra stopped breathing. They had emerged onto the highest landing platform above the palace. Thousands of meters below, the capital city burned. Hundreds of military ships filled the sky. The entire Imperial fleet had turned against them. Then something appeared above the clouds. 1 ship, then 5, then 20. Dark, angular warships descended from orbit. No Imperial markings. No royal colors. Only a small symbol painted across their hulls. Earth. Lyra stared at the fleet. Those are human ships. Adrian nodded. They came for you. Why? He looked at her. Because you're under my protection. The first human warship opened its launch bays. Hundreds of dropships descended. The Imperial fleet opened fire. The sky became a storm of light. Human ships moved through the barrage with impossible precision. They didn't fire randomly. Every shot disabled weapons. Every maneuver protected civilians. Every attack created an escape route. Lyra realized something. The humans weren't invading. They were extracting her. A dropship landed on the platform. The ramp opened. A human woman in black combat armor stepped out. She looked at Adrian. You're late. Adrian pointed toward the burning city. Traffic. She looked at Lyra. Princess. Lyra stepped forward. Who are you? The woman smiled. Someone who doesn't like people trying to kill our friends. Lyra looked at Adrian. Friend. Adrian suddenly looked uncomfortable. The woman laughed. Oh, he didn't tell you. Tell me what? She looked at Adrian. You didn't mention that Earth's military council personally ordered an extraction because someone threatened the first alien royal who ever trusted a human. Adrian sighed. I didn't think it was important. Lyra stared at him. You knew. I knew they would come. You knew Earth would risk a war for me. Adrian looked toward the sky. I knew they wouldn't leave me alone. The woman stepped closer. Actually, Captain, there's one more thing. Adrian frowned. What? The council just transmitted a message. She handed him a data tablet. Adrian read it. His expression hardened. Lyra saw it immediately. What is it? Adrian turned the screen toward her. The message contained only one sentence. The princess was never the real target. Lyra's blood ran cold. Then who was? Adrian looked at her. You. She shook her head. No, I'm the princess. Exactly. The woman looked between them. They wanted you to run. Why? Adrian's eyes narrowed. Because they knew I'd follow. Lyra stared at him. The pieces came together. The assassination attempt. The palace takeover. The attack. The human fleet. None of it had been about killing her. Someone had been testing Adrian. Testing how far Earth would go. Testing whether the human guard would actually keep his promise. And whoever was behind it had just learned the answer. Adrian looked toward the burning capital. Get her aboard. The woman nodded. Lyra didn't move. Adrian. He looked at her. You're coming too. I have unfinished business. You promised nobody would get close to me. I remember. Then don't break your promise. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Fair enough. They boarded the dropship together. As it lifted from the platform, the palace below disappeared behind smoke. The Imperial fleet began retreating. The assassins were gone. The Council had lost control. But the war had only begun. 3 days later, the galaxy learned what had happened. The High Council attempted to deny the assassination. Earth released the recordings. Every shot, every order, every soldier, every moment Adrian stood between the princess and death. The galaxy watched the footage in silence. Then something unexpected happened. One by one, alien worlds began withdrawing their support from the Imperial Council. Within 72 hours, 14 systems demanded the Council's resignation. Within a week, the assassins were hunted across 6 worlds. And within a month, the phrase became famous throughout the galaxy. Nobody gets close. It wasn't the name of a military operation. It wasn't a threat. It was simply the sentence one human soldier had spoken when an entire empire decided a princess should die. Years later, historians would argue about the battle that changed the balance of power. Some said it was Earth's fleet